If you're an emotional or a stress eater, I have a beautiful gift for you today. So listen on to discover how I unshamed my emotional slash stress eating and the magic trick that I use every day to drastically reduce the instances of me reaching for food when I'm feeling low. It literally takes 11 seconds. I timed it to apply, and you'll be able to start using it and practicing it while you're listening to me. Okay, so welcome to Joyful Eating episode 217. So today I'm sharing my 11-second magic trick to help you reduce emotional eating that works for stress eating too. But before we get to the episode, best bite I had on Sunday. I like to have dessert on Sundays, and I'm trying to reduce my ice cream intake. And we had some cream cheese that needed using up. And I love cheesecake, and I had planned to make one of my 10-minute cheesecakes recipes on my blog if you want to check that out. But one thing had happened, and I hadn't got to doing that, and I still felt that cheesecake need. So I just chopped up the cream cheese, like Philadelphia, put it in a bowl, and then I served a scoop of ice cream with it. So it was actually a wattle seed ice cream I'd made for Australia Day. So it'd been in the freezer for a while. The boys don't like it, but wattle seed, it's a native Australian. They're kind of tree slash shrub. There's heaps of varieties. And the seeds, some are poisonous, but some are edible. And the ones that are edible, they have this beautiful kind of roasted coffee flavor, but that's, yeah, it's slightly different to coffee. It's quite complex, but it's beautiful. So I made this ice cream. I had the cream cheese chunks, and then I put a scoop of ice cream on top, and then I mixed it in as I ate. So I got this like a coffee ice cream vibe with the cheesecake, and it was cold, and it was really, really good. Oh yeah, and I put some roast pecans on top to give it a bit of crunch as well. Just crumbled some roast pecans over, and yeah, it was really good. Okay, so in this episode, you're going to discover how I unshamed my emotional and stress eating. We'll say both. And then I'll talk about the story behind how I learned this magic trick that I'm going to share with you and how it's reduced my emotional hunger. And then I'm going to share with you why the magic trick works. So you get that, because I think it's important to understand the why behind things if I'm going to use a technique. And then I'm going to share with you how you can start using it right now together while we're listening or you're watching. And then I'm going to finish off with a special invitation for you. So basically, how I unshamed my emotional stress eating for a long time. When things were bad, I would go to food, right? And the habit that I had was, rather than just binge eating, I would eat, but then I would spit out the food, because it started when I was working as a winemaker, and I was spitting out the wine at work, when we were doing tastings. And I was like, well, if I don't really want to swallow this food, why don't I just spit it out? And so I started doing that. But of course, it didn't feel good to be treating food in that way, like shoving it in my mouth and spitting it out. So, but then that was happening at a time where I was going through a divorce, and I wasn't doing very well in my winemaking career. So I had that, and lots of things were going on. So I had a lot of negative emotion, right? And so I was doing that. And I remember telling my mom about this habit, and I was so ashamed of it, but I was like, no, I need to change it. And so I told mom, and she was just kind of well, not great, but she's also she wasn't shocked. She was kind of no big deal. And which I was really surprised at, because my mom is definitely a naturally healthy person. She's been a role model for me in my relationship with food, and she would never use food in that way, right? But then when she wasn't freaking out, and I was it got me thinking about it. And so as fast forward years later, when I've done a lot of work on myself, but also I've worked with hundreds of people in the Naturally Healthy Club, what I've come to realize is that actually everybody uses food to soothe ourselves in some way. So for some people, it's actually burying their head in a tub of Ben and Jerry's, but for other people, it's more subtle. But it's we're reaching for a snack or just a handful of nuts as we walk past the office kitchen, because we just want to give ourselves that little boost. And so when I just realized that it's something that we all do, and it got me also thinking about, why do we do this? It's a bit crazy. And it just I kind of delve into the evolutionary reasons. And if you think about it, when we're babies, and also having children made me really realize this, when you have babies, one of the best ways to soothe a crying baby is to feed them, put something in their mouths, right? And hug them, of course. But it's that feeding is ingrained as the number one way to soothe soothe us when we're small, which in caveman times, when they grew up and there wasn't this abundance of food, so they had to learn other strategies to cope with their emotions, right? Whereas modern humans, we grow up and we're surrounded by this abundance of food, so we're like, oh, okay, I know from childhood that this works. When I put food in my mouth, it's very soothing. I'm feeling bad, of course I'm going to soothe myself with food. Like, of course I'm going to eat over my emotions. And I think just recognizing that is really helpful for the unshaming part. And that's a really changing any behavior, like actually having self-compassion around what we're doing and understanding the why is just, it's really helpful. And it helps us be kind with ourselves when we do stuff that isn't ideal, that we don't really like. So that's how the kind of underlying story about that. And the reason why I wanted to do an episode on it this week was that recently, so every round that I do at the Naturally Healthy Club, it's a 6-month program, and we work on different aspects of our relationship with food. But of course, there's a big component of that is doing some work around changing our, expanding our capacity to feel our emotions rather than going to food to soothe ourselves. So not shaming it or not making it that we never soothe ourselves with food, but just reducing the amount that we do. So then it's not a problem, for our waistlines and for our health. And so in part of doing that feelings work with people, I lead them through an exercise where we actually practice feeling overwhelmed together, and I get them to generate the feeling of overwhelm in a class on a Zoom call. And then we work through creating safety and experiencing how to do that, like how to feel overwhelmed and be okay in our bodies with it. And so we've done that exercise, and then we were talking about more emotion stuff, and one of my clients mentioned that she had read a book called Joy on Demand, and she was like, I'd completely forgotten about this, how powerful we are, and how that we actually, humans, have the ability to create positive emotion in our bodies on demand as well by choosing what we think. And I was like, amazing, like straight away as soon as I got off the call, like ordering the book, listening to it. And this book has changed my life. Like this experience, like learning, because I kind of knew it, but then I realized I wasn't applying it, that actually if I can create overwhelm when I want to create overwhelm, I can also create joy when I want to create, or I can create positive emotion when I want to create positive emotion. And the cool thing is that when you have that ability to, and you actually start practicing that, then when you're feeling a bit down, you've got another way to give yourself that little boost. So you're less likely to reach for food, because it's like, oh, I'm feeling a bit down, I can just create some joy without having to eat anything. And so it's like, I feel like it's magic. It's a magic trick. That's why I called it a magic trick. So why this works is because, for that reason, it gives you that same, it's not necessarily the same boost as eating something, but it gives you a dopamine boost. It gives you that little feeling of goodness. And then when you're feeling that little bit better, then it's easier to make decisions around food that are a bit more intentional. And it makes a huge difference, because it's like, oh, I'm already feeling a bit better. Maybe I don't need that cookie, or maybe I don't need that whole handful of nuts. Maybe I can have less, or maybe I don't need it at all. And so it's just, it's really powerful. So because we're when you have this ability to feel joy and feel positive emotion, then that's a new tool in your toolkit to help soothe yourself. So that's why it works. And so how do we go about doing it? So there's two breaths, and literally it takes 11 seconds. So what we do is we take, first thing is take an intentional mindful breath. And so you breathe in and just really focus on the air going into your body and just being in the present. And the purpose of that first breath is just to bring you into the present moment, to calm yourself down, and from whatever's ailing you, bring yourself into the moment. And then the second breath, what you do is you focus on the breath, but this time actually, as you're breathing in, set that intention, I want to feel joy. Or you could choose another mode. I want to feel happy, I want to feel better, I want to feel less bad. I want to feel better. If reaching for joy feels a bit too far, you just set that intention with your mind of I want to feel this feeling. And then as you're breathing on the second breath, setting the intention and smiling. And when you do that, like when you smile on that second breath, what you'll notice is that you actually like will feel joy in your body, and it feels so good. Like for me, it's a feeling of like a warm feeling in my heart and kind of an expansive feeling in my chest. It's like a sunshine coming out of my chest, and then you let go. And it's interesting. Then like I was practicing this the other day when I was feeling pretty down about something, and just having those little moments of relief of like, oh, actually, I'm feeling really crap. I can just feel a little bit of joy now. And then I went back to feeling bad, but it was I had a different relationship with the bad feeling because I wasn't just in it. I was like, oh, actually, I can choose to dip out of this anytime I want to. I still want to feel bad now for some strange reason, and I let myself wallow in it for a bit. But yeah, it felt very empowering. So that's how we do it. Two breaths. First breath, just focus on the air going in and out. Second breath, set that intention. I want to feel joy, or insert whatever positive emotion you want to feel, and then smile. And the smiling, actually, the why that works is because when we and there's a lot of research around this, when we put our facial muscles into like smiling is like the happy, joyful, it actually releases, like changes our the brain chemistry, like it releases serotonin, and I can't remember what else it does. But it basically, and I think it reduces cortisol and adrenaline. So it reduces the stress hormone and it increases the happiness hormones, basically, as a high level thing. So, and that's just from like putting it smiling. Even if you don't feel the urge to smile, you still get that release. And then of course what happens is you feel better, and so then you may actually want to smile. So yeah, that's the how and the why. So let's practice doing it together. So we're going to just, whatever you're doing, just take a pause, and if you want to close your eyes you can. And so we're just going to take a first breath in through our nose, just feeling the air going to lungs and wherever it's going, and then just gently letting it out. And then second breath, setting intention, I want to feel joy, smiling, and feeling the joy. And just let it go and move on with your day. And so that's all there is to it. So we'll do it again, because that felt really good. I'd like to do it again. Okay, ready? So first breath. And then second breath. And actually, some people, the joy, I definitely feel it mostly in my chest. But one of my, actually, Faith, who recommended the book to me, she said that some people aren't able to feel emotions in their chest for whatever reason. And that actually another place to look for joy or positive emotion is in the kidneys, like smiling into your kidneys. So, like along the lower back. And so when I focus on that, I can actually feel it there as well. So that might be just something to experiment with and just notice, like, what do you feel and where do you feel it? My invitation to you, two invitations. First is to just experiment with this idea of feeling, like intentionally feeling some joy, particularly when you're interacting with food. So I've been experimenting with, when I'm halfway through my meal, just pausing and taking my two joyful breaths and feeling the joy. And then sometimes I actually feel complete, and I notice that I feel satisfied and I'm like ready to stop eating. Sometimes I want to eat more, and that's fine. Like, but it's a nice way to come back into the present moment. So if I have been wandering off, and then I really focus again on the food and enjoy my meal more. So I'd invite you to experiment with that during a meal if you're up for it. And if you'd like, if you want more simple, healthy ways to navigate not just your emotional hunger, but also your physical hunger and your psychological hunger as well, and to understand what that is and how they play out in our lives and how to navigate those with ease, then check out my new free on-demand workshop. So it's called How to Change Your Relationship with Food with Joy and Ease, so you feel peace around food and weight, and so your clothes fit again for the long term, even if you're in middle age. So in this fun 30-minute workshop, you're going to discover the 3 essential skills for a naturally healthy relationship with food, so you reach and stay at your natural weight with ease. We're going to share the 3 phases of healthy eating, so you know exactly where you are, and you've got a clear path of where you want to get to. We're going to look at, I'm going to share my counterintuitive, simple approach to nutrition, which will help you just cut through all that conflicting information in the world around what to eat and help you feel empowered and in control. And then finally, I'll share the easiest way to take your first baby step to changing your relationship with food so that you actually get more enjoyment from eating and you never feel like you're missing out. So to get instant access to the workshop, just click the link in the show notes, or if you Google Stone Soup and click on the Naturally Healthy Club page, that'll take you to the details of how to get access. Okay, have a beautiful week, feeling some joy. Let's just do one more. Yes. It's mad, isn't it? And I will see you next week.